Well, welcome everybody to the first week of our brand new series for summer. We're calling it How to Be Happy. Over the next 6 weeks, we're going to explore the kind of life that actually leads to true happiness. Not a superficial, feel-good kind of happy, but something much deeper, a life of peace and joy, stability and purpose, even when circumstances are hard. But happiness doesn't happen by accident. A planned life is a happy life. You have to be intentional about it. You can't just coast along with whatever current is carrying you at the moment and expect to be happy. If you want to live your best life, you have to make good choices. For example, it's important to decide what kind of heart you're going to have. Will you have the right heart? A kind, generous, and loving heart, or a selfish heart? You also need to center your life on the right things. Adopt the right perspective, hope instead of negativity, and wait patiently for God's plan to come together at the right time. And you need to spend your life searching for the right treasure. When you make the right decisions, you will have a happy life. But it all starts with one very important decision that comes before anything else, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I want to talk with you today about the right foundation. We all want to be happy, but a lot of people are building their lives on the wrong foundation. In the scripture, Jesus told a story about two men, one wise, the other foolish. The foolish man built his house on sand, and the wind blew, the rain fell, a flood came, and the house collapsed. He didn't have a strong foundation. The wise man built his house on rock, and it stood strong during the storm. This is one of the deepest and scariest questions I think we have to ask ourselves. How strong is your foundation? Is it secure? Is it reliable? Or will it collapse when life gets rough? Every life is built on something. Some people build on success, some build on money, some on approval, some on control. But the real question isn't so much what you're building, but what foundation you're building it on. You get to choose the foundation of your life. And when you build your life on God and His plan, you will be happy. The trouble is, fear often holds us back. Believe it or not, a lot of people, without realizing it, build their lives on fear. Fear of failure, fear of losing control, fear of criticism, what other people think, and fear of the future. But you can't build a happy life on a foundation of fear. The greatest enemy of happiness is fear, and it will hold you back from the life God wants you to have, the life you were meant to enjoy, the abundant life God designed for you to live. When your foundation is fear and worry and anxiety, you can't be happy because you're always preoccupied by how your health or how well your children are doing or your job, your finances, or all kinds of questions like whether people like you. But when you build your life on the rock of Christ, it changes everything. It changes everything. You know why you exist, where you belong, and where you're headed. And you won't be afraid to move forward and embrace the fullness of life God created for you. Back in my former parish down in the city, the first day of school was legendary. The streets came alive with parents and their children walking to school together. Many of the families lived right there in the neighborhood. And it was a joy every year to see the kids in their bright red uniforms on the first day of school after a long summer. And I would stand out on the corner and greet the families, wave to the kids, and welcome them back to school. But particularly amusing was watching the kindergartners arrive for the first time. There were so many tears, a lot of wailing and weeping, sobbing and crying, and even screams on that first day of school. And some of the kids were upset too. It all came down to separation anxiety. Many of the children had been home for all those years, or just gone to preschool for a few days a week, a few hours a day. It was a hard adjustment, with a new environment and new teachers and new classmates. But just imagine if they had turned around and gone home. No school, no friends, no learning, no growth. Fear would have stolen their future. But that's what fear does. And when we allow fear to limit our lives, you'll never discover what God has planned for you. And you'll always be standing on sandy ground. But when you have the courage to take the next step, trust God, and believe in His plan, His purpose, and His promises for your life, you'll be standing on solid rock, the right foundation. The right foundation. Before a major battle, kings and generals would often inspire their soldiers with an uplifting speech or a pep talk. It was known as a battle exhortation. It was meant to overcome fear and strengthen the soldiers' resolve to fight with promises of glory and honor and victory. But the greatest battle exhortation ever delivered, I think, was in chapter 10 of the Gospel of Matthew. In that passage, Jesus was sending His disciples out into the world with the most noble of all battle cries. He said, "Cure the sick, raise the dead, cleanse lepers, drive out demons. Without cost you have received, without cost you are to give." He told them that He was sending them out like sheep among wolves, that they would be handed over to courts and scourged in synagogues, led before kings and governors. Their own friends and family members would betray them. They would be hated by all, and in the end, put to death. But in spite of the danger, Jesus told His disciples not to be afraid. In today's gospel, He said, "Fear no one. Fear no one. Nothing is concealed that will not be revealed, nor secret that will not be known. What I say to you in the darkness, speak in the light. What you have heard in whispers, proclaim on the housetops." He was saying that the truth would come out in the end. What He had taught them in private, He expected them to shout to the whole world, unafraid, never letting fear silence them. 3 times in the passage we heard today, Jesus told His disciples not to be afraid. People will judge you. They will misunderstand you. They will leave you out, criticize you, underestimate you. That's just a given. The truth is that God sees the truth in you. And one day, the greatness He has put in you will come out for all to see. It's easy to live your life afraid of standing for your convictions, afraid of speaking for your faith, afraid of criticism and rejection. It's tempting to live worried, about the future, your health, the next round of layoffs at your job, at work, that math test coming up, your college applications, the hantavirus, wars and conflicts around the world. The enemy is always more than pleased to give us many reasons to be afraid. But that is only going to limit your life. You're going to miss your destiny. The calling that God has put on your life, the assignment He has given you, the purpose for which you have been chosen. Because fear is the wrong foundation on which to build your life. And in the gospel, Jesus went on to say, "Are not 2 sparrows sold for a small coin? Yet not one of them falls to the ground without your Father's knowledge. Even all the hairs of your head are counted." If God cares that much for a tiny sparrow, just imagine how much more He cares for you. You may be facing some things right now you don't understand. The future feels uncertain. But you don't have to live worried, afraid, or anxious, because the same God who has counted all the hairs of your head, the same God who knew you in your mother's womb, the same God who has loved you from all eternity, is watching over you. He's ordering your steps. He sees what you're going through. And what he has started in your life, he is going to finish. The key is to change your foundation from fear to faith, because fear is sand and faith is rock. 2 years ago, we started our international missions program here at St. Hilary. We wanted to make a measurable impact on communities, not just here in our neighborhood, but also in other places of the world where people need help. To do that, I had to raise seed money to get started. One morning, I had breakfast with one of our major donors. He'd always been so generous in the past, and he was a good man, and he hadn't given in a while, but I knew he was a man of faith and always wanted to help. So I had breakfast with him, and I told him about the mission program and all the good that it would do. He said, "Father Roger, that sounds amazing. It seems like really good work that you want to do there. But unfortunately, the economy is not looking so good. The political climate is unstable. The stock market is unpredictable. And also, I've been investing all of my resources in this other project that I've got going on, and I'm sorry, I just don't think I can swing it right now, Father Roger." Well, I don't know if he saw the wounded puppy dog look on my face or if he stared straight down into my soul, but all of a sudden he just stopped talking in mid-sentence. He pulled out his phone and he said, "Oh, well, no fear, right?" And then he transferred $10,000 to our mission program on the spot. I was so grateful. What happened? The circumstances hadn't changed. The economy had not improved. The market had not become more stable. What changed was his foundation. In an instant, he moved from fear to faith, from worry to trust. This is what the prophet Jeremiah did in today's first reading. He felt threatened because he had been speaking what God wanted him to say. But a lot of powerful people didn't like it. The princes of the people, the priests and the royal officials, they all conspired against Jeremiah. They wanted to take him down and to get rid of him once and for all. They brought him before the king on trumped-up charges of treason and convinced the king to throw Jeremiah into a deep, dark pit and leave him there to die. Even his own friends came against him. Jeremiah says in today's first reading, "I hear the whisperings of many, terror on every side. Denounce, let us denounce him." You ever had a bad day like that? People criticize you, they come against you, friends betray you, you become the subject of gossip and insinuation and rumors. Things aren't going well. Well, that's right where Jeremiah was. And he could have stayed there, anxious, worried, overwhelmed, exhausted from the fight. But he did something different instead. He changed his foundation and he said, "The Lord is with me like a mighty champion, and my persecutors will stumble. They will not triumph, and in their failure, they will be put to utter shame, to complete and unforgettable confusion." Friends, that's how you move from fear to faith. I wonder if fear is limiting your life. Are you afraid to move forward? A friend of mine almost lost the love of his life because he put off a marriage proposal because of fear. I almost lost out on the greatest opportunity of my life by avoiding the priesthood for 20 years because of fear any longer, and I would have regretted it the rest of my days. Is there something you're putting off out of fear? Changing jobs or career? Writing that book, going back to school, getting married, having children, ending a bad relationship, or dating after a loss, going to the doctor, starting therapy, breaking an addiction, moving into assisted living, or just having a difficult conversation with a friend. Whatever it is, God is inviting you to break free of whatever fear might be holding you back from the life He wants you to live. He is calling you to new frontiers, to become the pioneer of your life. He's summoning you out into the wide open spaces of new growth and new opportunities and new levels, a fresh start and a fresh vision for your life. The only thing standing between you and what God is calling you to next might not be the timing or your ability or the opportunity. It might very well be fear. But fear is sand and faith is rock. When you have the courage to build on a foundation of rock that comes from faith in God and His plan for your life, when you're willing to change your foundation like my friend and call upon God as your mighty champion like Jeremiah, when you turn to God and trust in Him as your protector and defender, your buckler and your shield, your fortress and your rock, your provider and your greatest hope, then you will be building on a foundation of faith and not fear. And that is always the right foundation for your life.